I
Hello,
can hear you.
everybody. Welcome. Yeah, we can hear you, Uri. You're
Okay.
interrupting my opening. So just so
I thought you cut
so
me off.
yeah, well, that could happen. Welcome everybody. This is our 70th webinar. Hard to believe doing, and we really do like underneath the banter and Uri's gruff exterior. This guy, and we've been having a lot of fun presenting the for it's almost 5 years.
Mm.
And we dip into a conversation on profitability every now and again and are delighted to have Steve and Flo join us to drill down on profitability, KPIs, and hopefully dispense some good advice that you can, implement at your firms around rate setting, timekeeping, whatever it is you might pick up. As always, we do live polling, and that might be worthy of distributing among within your firm if you feel so. So before we get started, real quick, Flo, how are you? You're a relative newbie to our cast of characters, and we're delighted to have you.
I'm glad to be here. I was honored to be at the event in Atlanta, which was amazing. But I'm doing great. I'm in New York right now. I know I'm always traveling. I was on Martha's Vineyard yesterday. I was in France the week before, but I had to make sure I was settled in the New York office for this.
Flo travels a lot,
Flo,
and he says he's going to conferences, but I notice in many of the pictures there's a cocktail in in one hand and
Guilty.
music in the background. I don't know. But Flo, good to have you with us from New York. And Steve Mabey, no stranger to the Managing Partner Forum. He's from Halifax, Nova Scotia, but you're not in Nova Scotia today, are you, Steve?
No, I'm in Castle Rock, Ireland for the next month.
It's incredible, Ireland, and you
Yeah,
said it's rainy over
it's
there,
liquid
huh?
sunshine. You come to Ireland, you better bring a rain jacket because you expect to see some rain now and then. But today was probably the worst day of the first couple of weeks so far. But we'll get there. It's Ireland. It's beautiful. Trains run, and
And
it
how
puts a little
how
more
how are
distance between you and I.
how are the pubs, Steve?
Pubs are great. They know how to serve a person a beer. And first time ever, Guinness Zero. I didn't know that Guinness had put out a zero beer, but they have a Guinness Zero.
Well, what's the point of drinking beer if there's
mm,
no alcohol in it? That to me is like decaf coffee. Makes no sense at all. But good to
Fair
have you
point.
with us. And I had that Steve's on vacation and is supposed going to some big concert tonight. I talked him into joining us for the webinar. And Steve, always good to have you with us. And my partner in crime, Uri Gutfreund. How you doing, Uri? And where do you
I'm
come
doing
to
great.
us from today?
I am doing great, John. Nice to see you. I am in Israel, in the Middle East, in a Jerusalem suburb. So no rain here. That's for sure. Hot of the summer.
So, it's just amazing. Here we are. Steve's in Ireland. Uri's in Israel. Flo's in New York. Here I sit in humid, stormy South Florida and presenting a webinar. It's just incredible, these tools available to us. So welcome, everybody. We are glad you are here. And let me go ahead and get this show underway. So, ooh, wait a minute. I got to go to the top of the show. That would help, wouldn't it? Steve,
Here
don't
we
say it.
go.
Don't don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Do I have it set right now?
Perfect.
Okay. Improving profitability. We're running businesses. Law firms are businesses, and most firms are interested in turning a profit if they can. So we dive into this subject about once a year, and we thought now would be a good time as firms enter their budgeting processes for next year to see if we couldn't help you out finding some good strategies to implement that'll have an impact on the bottom line and improve your firm's profitability. So we officially welcome you. It's 2:01 to our 70th MPF webinar in our series. We're calling it the Law Firm of the Future. And Uri Gutfreund, my co-host. Hi, Uri. How are you?
I am good, John. Nice to be here today. And
Uri,
profitability is always our hot topic, isn't it?
Always profitability and compensation. I think whenever we throw those out there, we get good participation. Always kind of evergreen, hot button topics. Our guest speakers, we met them briefly before we officially. Steve is managing director of applied strategies out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, and Flo Okulaja. Did I get that right, Flo?
That was pretty good.
Okulaja?
Pretty good.
I'm trying. And Flo works with Laurel, and we're gonna ask Flo to tell us a little bit about what Laurel does, and he's mentioned earlier sitting in New York, New York. So Flo, let me just start with you. Tell us a little bit about what you do, what Laurel does.
Yes, thank you, John, for the intro, and pleasure to be here. Nice to meet you all. Um, Laurel, we are an AI time and work intelligence platform. And so what that means is we have a system that passively tracks your digital presence for work relevant activity. And instead of having to do timesheets manually, which we know is one of the most hated parts of the jobs of lawyers all across the world, our system will do that for you. And so it makes the timekeeping process into one that's simply review rather than reconstruction. And then with all the powerful data that we're getting about how your firms are spending their time and how your people are spending their time, we are then leveraging that to show you insights into where you can be more efficient at the individual and at the firm level. And so that's what some of that work intelligence starts to get at.
Thank you, Flo. And as Flo mentioned, joined us in Atlanta for the first time, and we loved having you and your team there. They did one of our Dyna rounds, and the representatives of Laurel will be with us in Chicago in just a couple of weeks. We'll tell a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Steve Mabey, say hello and tell us what Applied Strategies does. And you have a conference coming up we want to learn about too.
Sure. We basically work with small to mid-sized firms, and really there's probably no topic we don't touch on or try to work with, but it's generally working with the philosophy of the most successful law firms I've seen are cautious firms. Not that that's timid, they just are cautious in how they do things. And so we work with them to encourage the cautiousness. I mean, there's a lot of firms that went out and spent a lot of money on AI without thinking about what AI was and how it was going to affect them and how it will affect their clients and all that. And so we really try to encourage people to, yes, you're going to move on AI, but move on it after you understand what you're moving on. And I think that those people have done a great disservice to the whole legal industry by saying, buy our product and, it'll right the world, when who knows what the world is. So do that. We have a conference 23rd, 24th, second year. There's in the Atlantic provinces in Canada.
This month, Steve, in August. Yeah, August 23rd,
September,
August 23, 24, September 23, 24.
Yeah, and so we started 2 years ago, gathered some people from different aspects of the legal service industry, and said the business operators of law firms, certainly in those 4 provinces, there's no education. There's no sense of how do they get better? How do they understand what's going on in the world? So we put together a conference last year, huge success. Everybody loved it. So we're doing it again this year. And I'm very blessed. I have good friends who come in and don't charge me anything and just say, we'll talk to them. And so we'll do that. And we're really pleased and one thing I will say that I didn't understand was how many managing partners of small, mid-sized firms will apply and say, I know you say it's for the business operators, but can we come? And I asked the simple question, what's your logic? Why do you want to come to this conference? And it's very simple. We send people, they come back and they talk to us, and it's Greek. We don't understand really what they're trying to get across to us. So if we come and sit with them at the tables and ask questions and learn, then we're going to be more effective on implementing some of the things that we need to implement to go forward. So we're really pleased. It's an interesting conference. We've got the only equity MSO in Canada, and they have a couple offices in the United States too, but they're coming to speak. We've got cybersecurity. We have the bar societies coming to talk about the new financial regulations for people to know your client better, or to know your client. And we have the rockstar finish with one story. The rock star last year was a benefits person who most of these firms, you get a benefit package and you don't think about it anymore. And this person was able to tell them some of the new things that people are doing for benefits. And this year, one of the benefits she's going to talk to us about, because the legal industry is a female dominated, certainly on the work side, female dominated industry. And she's coming to talk about a menopause policy and mental health. And it's not something that I was necessarily real comfortable, but she explained it, and I said, please come. I mean, let's give people things and tools that help them maybe have an advantage going forward. John, thank you for the platform to put the plug in for the program.
Boy, gives Steve an opening. He really barges through there, doesn't he? With a whole... No, it
I knew I
sounds
was going
like
to pay.
a great
I knew I was
program.
going to pay.
Are people? Is this just for Canadian firms, Steve, or can those of us from the low 48 come and join you?
The other 50 states, because we're state
Yeah,
number
yeah,
51.
yeah. We
Yes,
know.
anybody's invited. I mean, you can go on the website. We're on LinkedIn. We keep introducing all our speakers and sponsors. But predominantly has been people from firms from the 4 Atlantic provinces. We've had some from Toronto, which was amazing.
We'll
But
send a link in the follow-up to all our registrants. A
okay,
link.
that would be
People
great.
want to check it out. They can
Sure.
do that as well. We're going to be sending Steve's KPI booklet that he has authored. We'll talk a little bit about it as we get into the program, but that'll be among the follow-up we send to our registrants. We are being recorded. And the recording, they're all archived on our website, going back to webinar number 1 with Larry Richard, the world famous psychologist who talked about leading in times of turmoil. This is when COVID first hit. So our big thing coming up is a conference in Chicago called Empowering Women in Law Firm Leadership. And we've been doing this for about 5 years, and it keeps going, getting bigger and bigger. We'll be presenting this just in a couple of weeks at the Gleacher Center run by the University of Chicago, right there on Lake Michigan, on the Chicago River on Michigan Avenue. And we'll get about 75 or so women from across the United States and Canada. 2-day conference for women, by women, and law firm leadership. And so check that out. We'll send you a link to that program as well. Registration is underway. We dropped our early registration on Friday last week, so it's out there.
Yeah, and I was just going to chime in really quickly and say that we're the Laurel team. We're excited to be there. We're going to have some of our senior female leadership in attendance. We had such a productive and great time at the Atlanta event, and so this is one that I came back and I was like, we need to have some presence at. So if anyone will be there, you'll get to interact with some of the senior Laurel female leadership.
Excellent. We appreciate it, Flo. And Uri, why don't you set up today's program?
Today's program, we have 125 managing partners and law firms leaders registered. As always, the survey results from the questions at registration, as well as the audience polling question that we'll have throughout, will be sent to you as a follow-up, as well as with the recording and any of the handout materials that we've put together for you. The one thing we ask is that when the webinar is over, you're going to close the webinar and it'll ask you just a few short questions, takes 2 minutes. Give us your feedback. This will help us make these programs better every time. As John said, we've been doing these up to number 70, and we get the topics from you. You give us your feedback. We make them better every time. So we appreciate your feedback. John, start us off with our first polling question of the day.
Thank you, and I want to pile on the feedback. We really do take it in. I share it with our faculty, and we want to hear what you like, what you don't like, how we can make these more valuable programs, topics, speakers, anything you have to share with us. We do pay attention. So as always, we throw in some live polling questions, and our first question here is. Oh, Lordy, John, what are you doing here? Here it is, tools. I haven't used this program in a while. So bear with me. Our first one, this is Steve and Flo for you guys, firm sizes on today's call. And I know how to count ballots, having that lived in Georgia for many years. I used to joke that we can count the ballots. So here with about 60% in, here's the breakdown of firm sizes on today's call.
John,
And
can you share the
this
results?
is fairly typical of the firm sizes attracted to our programs. So let me close the poll and jump back over here. I've got to go to 15 different slides here. Bear with me. Okay. Bringing on data. When you registered, we asked a bunch of polling questions of you, 4 of them, not a bunch, 4. And our first concerned profit drivers. That's what we're here to talk about. You got levers as a managing partner, as a leader of a law firm, different levers you might flip on and off, and it might not be just one lever. We multiple levers to improve profits. So here's when we did our registrant survey question, what you all told us your intentions were next year to improve profitability. And there it is. We're going to bump rates 50%. 1/3 said we're going to do a better job capturing the time. 10%, we want to work more billable hours. Interestingly, nobody said better billing and collections, and 7% looking at the expense side. I'll ask our panel, starting with Flo. What do you think of this? Is this surprising to you?
I would say, based on the conversations that we're having with law firms every day, this is a little bit surprising because when we're speaking to firms, the thing that we're hearing is how do we become more profitable without having to raise our rates? But it's sounding like that's the tool that a lot of firms are still relying on, which I think is a little bit worrying. I think increasing your rate, you can only do that so often and by so much. And so then the challenge is how do you find other levers that you can pull on that might not be as upsetting to your client? And so it's good to see things like better timekeeping, which I actually think go hand in hand with more billable hours. Because if you're better timekeeping, you're also going to theoretically have an increase in the billable hours that you're capturing also. And so I just yeah, my commentary is just that idea of what can you do that's more about your own internal operations and having that be the first place that you start, and things like better timekeeping, better billing and collections, which I'm also surprised have little answers, are where a lot of our customers are wanting to focus on first.
Steve,
Yeah,
what say you about
listen,
these polling results?
I don't understand an industry that wants to increase its vulnerability rather than its profitability. The more I increase rates, clients, and we know clients are looking around, looking at other firms, looking for a more cost-effective deal. And so my profitability is dependent upon the rates that I've built up and charged. Client walks out the door. Let me tell you what happens to profitability. It takes a nosedive. So, I mean, I don't understand intelligent people who are relying so heavily on every year being able to increase the rate.
You know what I'll
And I'm not sure
respond,
that they're
Steve?
increasing, I'm not sure they're increasing the net rate if you look at the realization rates.
But it works. The rates go up, the clients pay them. It's been riding that for 5 years since COVID, and we had that inflationary period there for a bit. Firms really went into aggressive rate setting, and they're getting those rates. Uri and I have been polling for years, rates, and mid-sized firms compared to big law are still a bargain if we're looking at hourly rates. It works. Is I think why firms are doing it. It's easy, and clients take it.
So what
Uri,
happens when the big law squeezes its rates, gets squeezed by
ooh,
clients?
which big law firm are you talking about?
Any of the big law firms who whether it's because of AI or because the clients get sick of paying increased rates for the same work, nothing's changed but other than the rate. What happens when that starts to come downhill? And it will go downhill. I mean, if I'm a big law firm,
Steve, I've been saying that for 30 years. We
yep,
can't rely on this billable hour model forever. The bubble's going to burst sooner or later, but it hasn't. and the bubble continues to grow. These are interesting times, and now we have AI and pressing on us. You know, we talk about the leakage, and Flo, here's where I'd like you to come in, talk to us about you know, that hour worked over here on the near side of the riverbank to the hour paid for on the far side of the riverbank, and all the leakage along the way.
Yeah, yeah, and
Talk to us
we
about leaks and how to stop some leaks.
yeah, and we've done some research on this. We authored something. It was a white paper called the State of Work Report that we published late last year, but it's still extremely relevant. And what we did is we looked at the thousands of professionals using our timekeeping product and just assessed the ways that they did their work, the times that they did the work, the percentage of the work that they did that actually made it onto their timesheets. And some of the things that we found were not really surprising, but it was good to confirm some of the theses that we had. So, for example, one thing that we found is there's actually about 14% of billable work that's not actually making it onto timesheets. And that's simply because the user's forgetting to track it. It might be that email that you wake up and you send. It might be you're on your way to your kids or your kids' soccer practice and you might be sending an email. Or it's the quick thing that you did before you went home for the day and you're forgetting to capture a lot of that activity. And that right there is the revenue leakage that is being left on the table. We found that a significant number.
Those point ones add up, don't they?
They do indeed. They do indeed. And a lot of people are doing work outside of 9 to 5, as you all know, because you all work a lot of hours. And so sometimes that manual time entry is laborious. It's mentally taxing. And so you just forget to do it and you're leaving revenue on the table. And so what we call.
I'm surprised it's only 14%.
Yeah, that's based on our client base, but I'm sure if we were able to survey the entire pool, it's even bigger. But just to wrap, I think we've now come up with this term called true time, where right now the first funnel is your time recorded, and you're making a lot of decisions on your firm simply based on that time recorded. But you're missing a big part of the picture, which is that true time data and everything that's actually been done in the machines. And if you're not capturing your time efficiently, you're always going to be making decisions in the blind.
I'll just add to what Flo just said, which is very interesting. You said, Flo, that 14% doesn't even get into the system because of bad tracking. Our data, and we do this annual survey in New York on firms, there's an additional 14% that gets edited off the bill, and written off on the collection practice. So together, the two of them are another 14%. Add up 14 and 14. Now we're talking real money. That's 28%, or roughly a big part of most firms' profit margins, right? Said otherwise, that's double your profits, right? You fix those two problems, and we'll talk more about it. You fix those two problems, you've doubled your profit in your firm. Haven't even raised your rates one bit yet.
Every study I've read, we did an economic survey with Juris years ago, and LexisNexis bought them out. And Stephen Collins, sharp guy, CEO of Juris, and he would say if you're not contemporaneously time tracking, you are leaving money on the table. If you wait to the end of the day, it's about 15%. End of the week, it's about 25%. End of the month, you're starting to write fiction. You're really shortchanging yourself if you're living on the billable hour. And the discipline of contemporaneous timekeeping. I'm surprised you come with 14%, but maybe that's your clients, which are doing a better job than the average firm when it comes to the time collection piece. Steve, am I missing anything here? Any tools that we can do through the intake and workflow and billing and collections process to stop some leakage?
Steve, you're on mute.
You're muted.
One of the things, not now. One of the things that you have later on in the webinar is to ask the candid question: how many of you, or what is the policy for recording time? Do they have to automatically have it every day, every week, every month? But what's the real candor? Because everybody will say, well, they have to get their time entries in on a timely basis. There's a lot of discretion in what timely basis is and what's the accepted performance in your firm. Don't tell me what you say your policy is, but tell me what people are actually doing. And I think there's a lot
Well,
whether it's
and
14 or
rewards.
20%, people are losing money. There's leakage.
Well, and carrots and sticks, that
Yep.
those lawyers who can't get the time in. We have the listserv, for the managing partners who come to our programs, and guess what they're talking about again is how do you handle the equity partner who can't get the time in? How do you handle? We all have a few of these folks running around, and what are we willing to, put up with here? And are there consequences, or do we just learn to live with it? It's interesting, some of the solutions being put out there among the managing partners, the consequences of not getting your time in. I'm just going to opine a little bit before we jump. The standard hourly rate schedule, I can't believe how many mid-sized law firms leave it up to the partner to set the rate, whatever they want it to be. And the associates have little input on what their rates are to be. And I think maintaining a standard hourly rate schedule is a smart thing. And if you come off the standard agreed upon hourly rates, guess what? You got to take it to a department head and or an intake committee. We're getting serious about our rate setting here. Not anyone could just charge whatever they want to a client. The intake process, I'm sure you see it, Flo, Steve, sloppy in many, many smaller and mid-sized firms. Just the whole file opening process, client matter assignment, getting good information on our client. How about a background check if we're dealing with a new entrepreneur we haven't met before? Come on, folks. And then on the flip side, we wonder why we have collections issues if we bring on clients who don't have the willingness or ability to pay us, and we don't have an engagement letter on file. They talked about the timekeeping, billing, collections, who makes the call when the dues are past, when we're not 60, 90 days past, and who makes the call, and how long do we keep working for a client not willing to pay his or her bill? That's what I got to say about that topic.
John,
Anything else on leakage?
John, you always remind us, I think, something really important, which is communicating among the partners, transparency on these topics. And that's something that you've taught us, many times, that really moves the needles. It's really great to have all these processes, et cetera, et cetera. But if only the managing partner and one or two administrative support people know about it, you're not going to get all the other partner buy-in. But to really, really dig deep into these to really be effective, you need to have all the partners on board on this, and that comes with you need to do transparency. There has to be has to be on the partner meeting.
And Steve, when we get to talking about KPIs, I want who sees what, where, when, how. What do the associates see? What does the support staff see, if anything? What do we share with the equity partners? How do they even understand what they're looking at? I would bet most equity partners at mid-sized law firms can't fully explain to you what a realization rate is and why that's such an important KPI. I'll bet they don't. They're lawyers, not MBAs. Let's move on. I
John,
could go on this topic for a while.
We have a polling question here, which
Indeed,
is how frequently does your firm require billable time to be entered? So how frequently do you require your people to be put in the system, partners and associates, contemporaneously as people are working, daily, the end of the week? By the end of the week, your time's got to get in, monthly, or whenever. We'd like it before the bills go out, but whenever.
I'm busy, and here the results are coming in. Steve and Flo, can you see these results coming in?
Yes, indeed. And the monthly always scares me because I don't even know what I had for breakfast. I don't know what I had for breakfast this morning. How can someone remember at the end of the month what they did 3 weeks ago? That's always scary.
and the key word to this question, and I gave it thought, is require, not expect. Require. Now, I think with requirements are consequences. Otherwise, we're just talking.
John, can you share those results with everyone? There we go. So look at that.
Folks.
Weekly is number one at 37%.
Only
followed by
10%
daily at 27%.
require contemporaneous time hiring it versus, oh, we'd like to see it happen, or we encourage it, or, you know, that's interesting data. Flo, what's your response reaction to this?
Well, even I think
This
an
just
interesting
must kill you.
follow-up. Well, it does kill me, but I think even an interesting follow-up is while this might be the requirements, I would love to know what percentage of the attorneys are actually meeting these different standards, because that is probably just a fraction. But kind of like I said earlier, I think we are striving for a world in which the answer to this is 100% contemporaneous, because that's the only way you make sure you're not leaving money on the table. Daily, it makes sense. Maybe that's at least reasonable. Weekly is iffy, and monthly I don't think should be the standard anyway. We know it's hard for your attorneys to make their time, and we see all types of carrots and sticks and incentive to make sure. We actually, funny enough, at your conference in Atlanta, came across a managing partner whose firm, they have incentives, financial incentives for doing their timekeeping daily, and because of that they actually get that high rate of people actually putting in their time daily. And so I think that's the challenge, is how
I
do you.
remember.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, how do you incentivize people to do? And I would encourage all firms. You should strive for contemporaneous, but you should start with at least weekly or daily. No one should be doing monthly anymore, I don't think.
Well, and this guy, didn't they give monthly bonuses to people who got the time in consistently?
Exactly.
And
Yep.
everyone
Same
went,
guy.
a monthly bonus, a monthly
Yep.
bonus. What?
But it worked. But it worked.
Hey, it works. It works. And rewards for doing what's required. Really? I got to get bribed to do what's required. So it's interesting, and it's an ongoing devil that managing partners deal with, this whole timekeeping. Steve, anything to add on timekeeping
Two
before we
things.
go
Two
to our
things.
next
I am
slide?
very concerned for an industry where daily and monthly are almost the same in the responses, 27, 25%. That's scary. And the second thing is, at some point in time, when do you have to act like an owner? We're trying to find ways to make people act as an owner. That's a scary phenomenon.
Yep. And I think a lot of firms, admitted owners, they in hindsight wish they hadn't. I see
Yep.
that going on too sometimes. Let's talk about rate setting. And that's the number one lever. And so notice, Steve, in honor to our 51st state, we have Canadian currency on the slide. Huh?
I'm so honored. I'm so humbled.
I did that just for you. You know that.
I know.
So this is when you registered, we asked, what are your plans for rate setting? Look at that. Hurry. We've been asking this question for a long time.
And it's been sitting just at this spot for at least 6 years that we've been asking this question, which by my rough math means we've doubled our rates in the last 6-7 years, which is pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. It's an incredible phenom, I think, of the ability to raise rates every year. I know we have a bit of tailwinds of inflation, so that people have been using that. I think most of the public expects that. My one comment on that is it depends who your competition is. For those of you in the audience who are competing with Big Law, and I hear this all the time. They said a mid-level associate at a big firm in New York is about $1,800 an hour. So me, an experienced partner at a mid-sized firm, I could charge $800, $900 an hour. Nobody even cares. Nobody even notices. Look at that delta. So if your competition is with Big Law, what's been on your side the last couple of years is the acceptance of mid-sized law firms doing your legal work has been on the rise. No question. The last couple of years, more and more work is being considered by mid-sized firms. So now you're competing with a 2,200 rate, and I can go up 10% probably forever if I'm starting at $800.
I also think, Uri, to add, it depends on your clients. If you're doing insurance defense work, they're going to be a little less tolerant of rate increases. If you're doing public sector work, probably not going to see this. But in private equity, real estate transactions, Steve, what are we seeing in Canada in terms of rate setting? Similar data? And just comments on this data and maybe some specificity to the Canadian market.
Sure. Yes, law firms across Canada are no different than across the United States in the sense of they're relying on increasing rates for the profitability. The difference or the difference of the results, I'm not sure that every firm, I mean, there's some specialty firms that are seeing the same increase in their bottom line, but there's lots of firms in Canada whose bottom line is flat at best, and they've added more mouths to eat the pie. So, equity profits for equity partners, unless you're firing equity partners, hasn't been going anyplace. So, it's nice to say I'm going to get a 6% increase in my rates, but if I'm not seeing it flow through to the bottom line, I'm just adding risk to my legacy.
Well, any reaction to this data?
Yeah, and this is something we touched on earlier. I think for rate increases, if you're a mid-sized law firm competing against big law, you can maybe get away with it. But if you're competing with other mid-sized law firms and your customers are price sensitive, that could then be a deterrent. And while you can maybe do a few different, like to what end can you keep increasing rates? That's kind of like the thing that we preach. And so that's why we think rate increases should really be your last lever. You need to think about things like automating your timekeeping, because again, you're automatically not changing your workflow or anything else about your internal operations and increasing your profitability just as a result. So the two things at Laurel that we don't really like, we don't like rate increases, we don't like monthly timekeeping.
My guidance to the mid sector is 5% a year. Lock it in, 5% a year. Keep chipping away. Don't wait 6, 7, 8 years, then go for 25%. That's not going to be well received by the client. But I think it's almost expected in this day and age. 5%, it's fairly modest. And you can always adjust it on a client by client, case by case basis. But I think locking into 5% a year and that's it, folks. And we have a standard hourly rate schedule that reflects that. I think if you want to improve profitability in the short term, that's it. Now, longer term, we get into AI integration and pricing models and things like that. And we'll segue into that as we go. But man, the bill hour, that's the lever flow. They all want to punch. And guess what? It's the first one and the most effective one in the short term. So that's my 2 cents on that one. Here's I just went to chat and ask, rates. This is Cleo's stuff coming up by industry, by geography. Michael Reineweiser at BTI Consulting just published a report broken down by industry. Private equity, about $1,200 an hour across all timekeepers. So market where the money is, folks. But just stuff to think about as you look to the future, the practice areas you want to build, maybe practice areas you want to kind of wean away from. And many big firms are jettisoning the insurance defense practice, the workers' comp defense practice, just not very lucrative. So, Uri, you wanted to talk about
this is Steve's question. I'll call this Steve's question, John, which is expenses are going up. This is, of course, the public face of the public experiencing pricing going up, and you two as law firm partners, your expenses have been going up. So we have our next polling question in particular says, are your increases in your firm's revenue, are those increases, are you able to outpace your expenses? Is your revenue outpacing your expenses? Yes, easily. We're raising our rates so much, working so many more hours, we can easily outpace our expenses that have been rising over the past 3 years. Yes, not by much, about the same. So we're raising our rates, we're working harder. We're just keeping even with our expenses going up. Or no, we're not. And to Steve's point, we're falling behind. Our profits per partner are actually going down. So it looks like about half of you have voted. So, John, I lost the screen. Okay. John, share. Wow, look at this. Yes, not by much is the number one choice. So we're barely making more money. We're raising our rates. Yes, easily about a quarter of you. 11%, about the same. 8% of you are falling behind, and 3% of you are not sure. So,
So
Steve,
here,
are you surprised?
Look, I'm not surprised because everybody talks about the rate increases. You know,
Mm.
we're into dramatization in the Lego industry, and so people are hearing about wow, these firms and their hourly rates and doing all this stuff, and I'm saying, you know, when I go to the grocery store, they don't care what my rate is; they care what my cash is, and what's my bottom line. And I really think that there are a bunch of firms that are headed, if they're not careful, out the door because their bottom line is not supporting the compensation that their partners are looking for.
well, here we're honing in on the concept of profitability. And I think firms are pretty good at looking at the revenue, the top line, the $2 million book of business. But more and more firms really drilling down on the profitability by lawyer, by client, by office, a number of different ways. But that's a tough road. That's you've got to have courage to lead when you start honing in on profitability by lawyer. That can be touchy area. So here's the poll of these areas of primary expenses among most law firms. Where are you seeing where the most pressure? Is it associate salaries, staff salaries, the benefits and health insurance? Technology is really eating away at our budget. Office space. I'm not surprised by this. Are you, Steve? Maybe.
No, I look, the number one expense has been, will be, and continues to be attorney salaries. There's no question. And you add benefits to it, and then it's a runaway for that. The interesting one is that technology has displaced uh, office space or facility as the number two. And I don't think there's any stopping technology. It may at some point in time equal attorney salaries. That's was the trend line that I'm watching. But the salaries have gone up. And we, certainly in Canada during COVID, and then after that, we give a spring bonus, we give a fall bonus, and then we wake up the next year and say, well, why has attorney salaries gone
Why'd they
from
leave?
18 or 20% to 35% or 38% on the dollar? And you say, well, gee, did you think that salaries go backwards? I haven't seen salaries go backwards in all my years.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah. Flo,
the
your
the
comments on this set of data.
yeah, I'm curious to see where technology would have been a couple years ago, and I predict that technology in the short term, call that 2 to 4 years, will actually surpass attorney salaries while we are still in this nascency of AI. Everyone's trying different tools. No one really knows what the best ones are, how to measure that ROI. And then I think it'll scale back a little bit. Right now, we are still in this free for all of even, I think it's law firms are a little bit more conservative with how they try tools. Like I look at us as an AI company, and we're trying every tool. We're an AI company. We're also trying every tool to see how we could be more effective. We've tried a lot. We've already gotten rid of a lot. We found the ones that we love, and we're sticking with those and willing to pay large amounts for them. As an AI company, we're at the front of that trend line. I think that's going to be the same thing for professional services. So I think we'll see that increase in technology spend over the next, again, 2 to 5 years. And then when the real clear winners of this AI boom and legal tech and across all these other industries are made clear, then the prices will also standardize, but then the rest of that tail will get cut off. And so that number will dive back down. So this is about what I expected. And I'm curious to see how this will change over the next few years.
Technology, it's suddenly the number one issue when we look at managing partners, your firm's top concern. It's changed since COVID, and we ask the same questions every couple of years. What's your firm's top priority? And it was return to office for a while. Remote work policy was obsessing everybody, and then it was back to the clients, business development. Then it was talent retention. Now it's AI. Suddenly managing partners, mid-sized firms are waking up to AI and making it a priority. We got to figure out how this is going to work. Uh, and we're trying to help, and Flo, I think, LexisNexis and Thomson Reuters is going to buy out everything over time. I would think. All
Well,
these companies popping
in
up
our
we've
instance,
never heard of before.
in our instance, they partnered with us. We actually just partnered with Thomson Reuters. They didn't buy us. We won't let them buy us, but partnerships will happen.
Is that what you guys call it? A merger?
Nah.
I like the way, we ask firms, this urge to grow and all, and what's your attitude toward merger? And only if we're the alpha firm, and if it's never an acquisition. If you're the smaller firm involved in a transaction, it's always a merger for the smaller firm. So there's rate increases over the in revenue. What are we looking at? Outpacing expenses, and now we're looking at this poll here. Did I show that one, Uri?
You did.
Those poll results.
You did. Yeah. And as Steve pointed out, it's barely keeping up for most firms, and payroll or employees is what's costing 70%, right? That's where the profits have been going the last couple of years, despite the large, consistent rate increases. That's what
Steve, let's talk about KPIs. I hear you wrote a book about law firm KPIs. ChatGPT told me so.
Yeah.
And I fact checked it, and it's true. You wrote a book on law firm KPIs. Talk to us about KPIs. What are they? Why are they important? And what should I be looking at?
Yeah, we're in our second edition because COVID has changed some of the water on the beans and what you should be looking at and how you go forward. And I'm pleased that we're going to send out a link to the PDF of the
Wait a minute, Steve. Water on the beans? What?
If you lived in any place other than Florida, you would know what that meant. And I haven't got time to try to educate you. But anyways, look, I think that KPIs are really
plenty
important.
Of other places.
Yeah, I think that KPIs are extremely important. I think that firms have got more intelligent about using them and making sure the KPI that they're looking at supports their strategy. So many people, first when they did KPIs, said, well, okay, let's get billable hours and per equivalent and let's do this and realizations and all that. And said, and I remember talking to a personal injury firm and saying, well, why are you tracking billable hours? Your revenue is a fixed fee, a percentage of that. And so why is the KPI tell me about how fast you're closing files KPI. Tell me about, what percentage you're getting on your contingency fee. Those are relevant KPIs to a personal injury firm. And so, but I have seen, I would think over the last few years, people are being more intelligent, but there's still, I say about profits per equity partner, fire some equity partners. I can not change my whole financial firm results and just let a few equity partners go, and my profits per equity partner go up. Is that what I'm really?
It's an easily manipulated KPI, profit per equity partner. And when the Am Law publishes its list of top law firms, that was the number, profit per equity partner. Clients love to see that list, right?
Yeah.
Really.
But so, we're seeing, some new KPIs come in. AI is going to be a KPI. What percentage of your files do you use AI on? It's going to become a KPI that people are going to start tracking. They started tracking on marketing. Marketing is used to be kind of general KPIs and some financial KPIs, but now you've got things that are critical to law firm legacy, which is marketing. So now, what new files? What's our ratio of new files? What KPI on new files? What are we getting from existing files, existing clients? What's the KPI on that? So what is the average dollar per file KPI? These are, people are starting to dig in to say these are things. But one of the points I think Uri made early that I did want to comment on is you can put too much information out there. People become data over-absorbed. So if you're whatever it is, figure out the 3 or 4 or 5 key KPIs to
I
your
was going to ask you
strategy,
that,
to your
Steve. How
business.
many KPIs should I be looking at any given time? What do I mean?
You know, 4 to 7. You know, if you're looking for a number, I'd say 4 to 7. But the problem is everybody gets these monthly reports, and people have just zoned out. They don't look at them anymore because they're getting this 20 or 30-page document. Great information, tons of data, but it's meaningless if nobody looks at it. And that's what you have in a lot of firms who, where the equity. I at the conference last year, we had a partner who sits on his finance committee, firm's finance committee, and didn't know what a KPI was. Just knows that he gets a monthly report with a bunch of numbers and stats.
They're lawyers. They're
No,
lawyers.
but that's
Yeah.
my point. I mean, we have an obligation to say focus. What supports our strategy? What supports our firm direction? And that's the information we should get in front of the equity partners, and not, you can have all these other things, accountants, but let's just focus on the 4 or 5 key performance indicators.
I agree,
Steve,
Steve.
as you look ahead,
less is
Steve,
more.
we got questions at registration. Someone had asked, a few people in fact asked, is there any AI KPIs that people are starting to take a look at, or any of them that you'd recommend, Steve, that people are keeping out for? What do you say?
Well, I say a couple. One is how much are you using AI on the average file? So if I've got 1,000 files and I'm only using it on 200 files, okay, I got about 20% of my files I'm using AI. Should that direct where I go, how much I spend on AI, where I go with the AI? Another one is on the billable hours. You know, if I'm seeing a billable hour shrinkage in a practice area like insurance defense or something like that, and I'm seeing an increase in AI, you know, 1 and 1 generally equals 2. And so I look at it and I want to understand. So there will be more AI KPIs coming out in the next year, ton of them, but it's going to be, you know, maybe the ROI should be a KPI. We've invested all this money on these products, AI products, and what's the return on them? And how do we measure that return? So I think that you're going to see more AI KPIs come up. But the first one to start with is, you know, what's the KPI? How much AI are we using in on our clients and our files? Because if clients find out you're using it on 80% of them, they're going to want to talk to you about billing.
Well,
I would, if I was a client, I'd say, well, hold on now. If you're using it on 80% of my files, where is the return for me? Where am I seeing enhanced cost effectiveness if you're using it?
I'm gonna, you know, I agree with you. Less is more when it comes to these reports. Less is more. Keep it simple. You know, keep it focused. Because how many times, you guys, have we run into law firms in the old days? They'd have the 3-ring binder, all the tabs, and some partner requested some report 15 years ago, and it's still in the binder. Nobody knows what the report's for, what it means. We never talk about it. What's it doing there? You know, it's just clutter. And I think we'll talk about this later. This whole notion of law firm economics 101 and the responsibility of leadership to educate its people, lawyers, and support staff. A little bit about law firm economics 101. What are the profit drivers? What are the KPIs that really matter? They're lawyers. And these young associates, so often, they don't have a clue why it's so damn important to track your time contemporaneously. Or what is the path to become an equity partner? They don't get it. So I think the obligation to apply a little law firm economics 101 is some advice.
John, I think that what you talked about is so true, but it's a self-inflicted wound. I think we treat associates like mushrooms and say at the end of 7 or 10 years, say, oh, you want to be a partner. Well, why do I want to be a partner here? I don't know anything about the firm. I don't know any of the economics. If we don't take the time to educate them, then we ought not to be sitting around the table saying, well, those associates, they don't understand. They just want more money, rah, rah, rah. You know, educate them. Tell them how the firm works. Tell them, you know, what's the business of the practice of law.
Well, and I think why two-tiered partnership structures make a lot of sense for a lot of firms, and
Yep.
why mandatory de-equitization provisions are starting to come into play more and more. Transparency around that track to become an equity partner, and votes to admit, expel, amend the agreement, and all those good things. They're lawyers. They went to law school, and they know what they know and don't know what they don't know. So I run into firms, the associates, it's what's your minimum billable hour expectation, kids? No one's ever talked to me about it. It's like, really? Still happens in some firms. Comments on this? This is the AI conversation. We're all trying to figure this out together, and we'll get there, but I don't think we've quite figured it out. Flo, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, exactly. And I think Steve, you hinted at this earlier. Firms starting to look at what the ROI is from the AI investments. And right now it's really quite hard. And so that's what comes back again to that time data and what we really harp on. Because one easy thing, not easy, but an efficient thing you can do is if you can tell how people are spending their time pre a certain tool and after, you can then say, okay, before this tool, we were spending X amount of time drafting documents or doing research or doing whatever other thing. And then after you implement a tool, you can see how that time changes. And so that's one way, that's one thing that we're trying to do with the data that we're getting about how people are spending their time.
Yeah, but if we're working that billable hour, we're not necessarily interested in being efficient with our time. So we like to close out, with some thoughts. And Uri, I'll invite you. This a lot of the same stuff we suggest to managing partners. Culture, really, really important. Profitability. As firms hone in on profitability, it might cause a little disruption to the familial collegial culture we value so. And how do you find that right balance? Steve, any comments? We've talked about this at our conferences the past couple of years, finding that right balance for your firm between the culture you celebrate and your interest in making money.
I end this because I firmly believe culture eats strategy. If the culture of your firm drives everything, whether it's a lateral hire coming in, how you treat clients, how you treat people, the culture is, to me, the most important element of law firms. And I think a lot of law firms have got away from their culture or let their culture be eroded. And you can't, to me, talk about profitability without talking culture. It drives. This is how we do things. That's the culture. And so now all of a sudden you're telling me I got to do billing different, or I got to track my hours different, and it's never been enforced before. It's the culture drives it. So you can say all you want about these policies, but if the culture says it's laissez-faire, that's a French term you probably don't understand, John. But if they say it's
No, I'm
laissez-faire,
stupid.
I
I
never said
never
you're
left
stupid.
Florida. I'm stupid over here.
You probably have your white shoes on.
Steve.
So, anyways, what I'm saying is do the culture. You want to fix profitability, or you want to make a real
The only
profitable.
one wearing a
Look at the culture.
jacket here, just if anyone's noticed that, okay? Um, and compensation. I think your culture. I mean, if we're about team and share, our compensation system should reward sharing and teamwork and shared origination and sunsetting origination and this sort of thing. And so often it's eat what you kill. My client doesn't exactly encourage sharing and teamwork if we're heavily rewarding origination credit for life and there's no policy around how that might be shared. So, all this stuff fits in, and that's Stephen Drucker. It's a couple of times. What measured gets done. What gets measured improves. That's a Stephen Drucker, and so is culture eats strategy for lunch. That's a Stephen Druckerism too. He's got some good stuff. Uri, would you offer any other advice to our managing partners with us this afternoon, not on this list?
Well, I'm going to change two of these on the list a little bit. What gets measured and what gets shared gets done. I think that these regularly sharing the performance reports with your people, first you define what performance is, tell people what that, like you said, John, the minimum billable hour. Now we need to share that. Then we need to publicize who's making those hours and then we have to compensate for it too. But that's one. And then the last one is when you're teaching. You said it earlier, John, and it's the last on the list here. This is the managing partner's job. It's part of the managing partner's culture. I know a number of managing partners are with us today. They teach twice a year. They teach law firm economics 101 because the associates don't know it. And as you said, even the partners, many of them don't know it.
Yeah.
How do we make money here? How do we make money? What do we do for them? What are our top practice areas? What are our top clients, either by name, by industry, probably both. But we need to communicate. We need to communicate what our standards are. We need to communicate how we make money, where we make our money, and then we have to reward people both by calling it out, the good behavior, and by compensating for the good behavior.
Uri, the only thing I would add to the front of yours is we are in business to make money.
Yeah.
We sometimes lose track of that simple axiom that what are we doing here? Oh, we're here to right the world, access to justice and all that. And those things are important, but we are here to make money. If we weren't, we'd go do something else.
You know, I just thought of another brilliant KPI, associate retention. That's a biggie. And mid-sized firms have many a revolving door, and it's expensive to watch people come and go. So do we in any way measure employee satisfaction? We talk about those KPIs, Steve, client satisfaction.
Yep.
You know, are we measuring it in any way, form, or fashion? Because happy clients come back and refer. And employee satisfaction. Happy employees, in theory, are more productive, more loyal. Are we measuring employee satisfaction in any form or fashion? So, you know, KPIs don't have to be all about numbers and dollars. They could be about other factors that are important to your law firm. I'm looking at the hour. We've got 2 minutes left. Flo, anything on that list? Anything I'm missing on that list? Let me flip it back.
Nothing I think you're missing. I think that was a solid list. I think with my last words, I'm just going to re-harp on the point that contemporaneous timekeeping is very, very, very important, and that should be a priority for all firms.
Yes.
Only if you're a business.
Yes.
Only if
and
you're
there
a
are
business.
tools. There are tools for that, aren't there, Flo?
There are. One might be called Laurel. One might have a very, charismatic partnerships manager on this call who would be happy to talk to any of you.
Well, Flo, I'd like to meet that person. So if you could set up an introduction.
I mean, hey guys.
No, thanks again for being with us. So our program in Chicago, you got Steve's program in where are you? Halifax? Where's your conference going to be, Steve?
It'll be, Dartmouth, next to Halifax.
I'm from Florida. I don't know where that is. I've heard of this Canada, but you know, the weather up there, we don't see it on the maps, on the morning news. So anything north.
But you smell our smoke.
Yes, we do. It's lovely.
We do indeed.
We do. So reminders, we'll be back next month, September. Our friends from Nine Sail are going to join us. We haven't quite yet honed in on our topic, but Joe Giardella, I mean, he is fantastic. He'll be with us. This is recorded. We'll share it with you. Give us your feedback, please. We'd love to hear from you. Good, bad, and indifferent. Steve Mabey, thank you. Flo, thank you. We appreciate your being with us and look forward to seeing you live and in person soon. Uri, thank you as well for doing these as long as we've done these. Here's our contact information. And please feel free to reach out directly to any or all of us if you're so inclined. So that's what I got. Anything for the parting order? I'll go around the table. Uri, parting words.
Focus on profitability. Raise your rates, sure, but focus on profitability. You can double your profits. Who wouldn't want to tell their partners that? There's a lot of money on the table.
Flo?
Don't do monthly timekeeping.
Parting shot.
That's it.
I thought you were going to go to. I thought you were going to go there. I don't know. I just thought maybe. Steve, you're last up. What you got to take us home?
I just think that law firms need to be more cautious on how they proceed whether it be AI, lateral hires, new practice areas, old practice areas. I just think the whole economy bodes well for cautious law firms.
Caution. Well, lawyers don't like risk. So, that Larry Richard research on the lawyer personality suggests they don't like change, they don't like risk, and they love autonomy. So
They
to
don't
hell
like
with
risk.
requiring me
Yeah.
to get my time in the system, Flo.
Yeah.
I'm an equity partner. I'll do whatever I want. Real world. All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Good to be with you, and have a good rest of the summer.
Take care.
Thanks,
Thanks,
John. Thanks,
listeners, for
everyone.
being with us. Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
John.
Thank you.